Hello everyone, my name is Josh, and this is Whimsical and Interesting Musings, or WHIMs as I like to call it. And today I want to talk about the Netflix television series Wednesday, which premiered a few weeks ago, and this was one of those productions I was really anticipating because I'm a huge Addams Family fan, and I love the 1990s film starring Angelica Houston and Christina Ricci. And I love the animated series of the Addams Family that I watched when I was a child. I used to watch that and Beetlejuice. But strangely enough, I used to think that the films, the Angelica Houston films, were kind of adaptations of the cartoon. So I kind of looked at it and thought, oh, this is actually surprisingly more grittier than the cartoon series. And I felt the same way about Beetlejuice when I watched the film version of it for the first time, because I watched the cartoon. I kind of had this understanding that, oh, it's an adaptation of the cartoon, so it's going to be a little bit more quirkier and a little bit more outlandish. But no, it's a little bit more darker than the cartoon was. So I actually found out about this article fairly early on. I usually read articles on my phone. Usually I get little notices saying that, oh, so-and-so is attached to this project, to do this project and things like that. And sometimes they'll just pass me by and go, oh well, we'll see where this goes. But then I was just doing something one day, and then I saw that Tim Burton was going to be involved in a Wednesday spin-off catered for Netflix. And to me, it kind of felt like, oh, this is actually a very interesting idea. And I actually read the article, and then I saw the first poster where it had just the silhouette of Wednesday, sort of like a stop motion looking, silhouette of Wednesday Addams, more akin to the Wednesday in the animated films, like the CGI animated films, than, the Wednesday that we eventually got. But it had her kind of in silhouette playing the cello in sort of like a black silhouette, and it had sort of like this purplish pink, veil facade, see-through facade. And I thought, yeah, this actually looks really cool. This actually looks really good from the poster anyway, from just one image. I thought, oh yeah, this could be interesting. And then I started seeing trailers, and I thought, oh, this actually looks really good. And then, of course, I heard that Jenna Ortega was going to be playing Wednesday. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. I hate it when that happens. Excuse me. Bless me. Sorry, I hate it when that happens. When you're about to sneeze, but then you don't sneeze, but then all of a sudden you do sneeze when you think it's all gone. It's really bad. But yeah, I saw trailers for this show, and I heard that Jenna Ortega was going to play the role of Wednesday, sort of like this teenage version of Wednesday. And I was immediately intrigued because I saw Jenna Ortega in the show You, which is another Netflix series, which is a really good series if you haven't watched it, so I'd highly recommend that. She was in the series You, and I thought, oh, she was pretty good in that, and I thought, oh, this could be an interesting project for her. And then I saw her in Scream, and she absolutely, floored it in Scream. Like, she really, showed a lot of range, she showed a lot of emotion. And I thought, this actress really has a lot of range. I'm really, excited to see what she's going to do with Wednesday. And let's be perfectly honest, she had a pretty big shoes to fill with this character of Wednesday, because we all know Wednesday Addams from the 1990s Christina Ricci portrayal, which is literally iconic. She's literally, a icon for so many people. She's an icon for so many, girls, and a great feminist icon almost. And she's basically the subject of many fancy dress costumes and many cosplays. So you can pretty much guarantee that she's an icon, and there's going to be a big built-in fan base around this decision alone. So it can go either one of two ways. It could either be hyped up to death because people like to dress up as her on Halloween or whatever, or cosplay at her at Comic-Cons, or it can go very well and actually have a good story to really get you invested. And to me, I think the show pretty much works. It starts off with Wednesday pretty much being at school, at this regular normie school, which is a school for normal people, where her and Pugsley are basically just there to be educated. And she finds out that her brother, Pugsley, is being horribly bullied. And she finds out by touching his wrist, and she gets these premonitions. So she basically finds out who bullied her brother, in what order, and she figures out where they are. And she does a very Wednesday Addams type thing, in the sense that she basically unleashes she unleashes a horde of deadly piranhas at them. And That I thought that's a classic Wednesday move. Like Wednesday is one of those people who really delights in, executions and torture. We see that in the 1990s series, and there's that wonderful scene where she's strapped Pugsley to the electric chair and she's saying, "Oh, we need to take it up to 100 volts," and then Pugsley goes, "Why? So it can kill you," and things like that. So yeah, I love that scene. Everything that Christina Ricci's portrayal of Wednesday Addams is just iconic. All her lines are just absolute gold in terms of exceedingly quotable. So to me, I felt like, yeah, this is a good premise. She basically gets expelled from her normie school, and she gets asked to move to a place called Nevermore Academy, which is an academy for people like the Addams family, where they are basically called outcasts. People who are like werewolves, vampires, supernatural creatures, and all sorts of different things. And to me, I think this is a very interesting idea, like taking this idea of taking Wednesday and putting her in a place where she's among some of her peers is an interesting place to go. And I feel like this is a great step to pretty much her creating her own identity. But Nevermore Academy has a bit of a past with the Addams family. It was the place where Morticia attended when she was a teenager, and she was basically an honest student. She basically, excelled in everything. She was pretty much perfect in every way. It was where she met Gomez and where they began their whirlwind romance and all the rest of it. So it seems like an ideal place, but except they keep, giving her this unrealistic expectation of, oh, you could be like me, like you could be, an honest student, things like that, but Wednesday in her own, gloriously, unfazed way just kind of goes, no, I just want to sit in my room and, play my cello and write my novel. I'm writing a detective series about a girl detective who solves these very grisly murders and has a taste for the macabre and things like that. And and it's just great. I absolutely love this incarnation of Wednesday. I really do think that she plays... Jenna Ortega is the crown jewel of this show. I feel like her portrayal really does sell this show as what it is, and I really do feel like without her, I don't think it would nearly work as well. She's kind of like the Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes of Misery, where her performance pretty much is the glue that holds the whole thing together, and I feel like that's... Without Jenna Ortega in the role, it wouldn't have worked nearly as well. But I feel like she brings a lot to this role that really does feel fantastic. And of course, Christina Ricci plays a guest starring role in this show as well. So if you're going to get... The show is created by Miles Miller and Alfred Gough, Gough, and they were pretty much successful in the kind of, teen drama arena with shows like Smallville, and that was a reasonable success. Now they're taking they're done with Superman, now they're doing the Addams Family, and I think that's a very interesting choice because they really bring a very interesting flavour of drama and intrigue to everything. But they also are very good at making decisions because they actually got the chance to hire someone like Tim Burton and the costume designer Colleen Atwood, who does a lot of Tim Burton's films, and they got Danny Elfman to do the score. So immediately I felt like, yeah, I'm immediately sold. Even if the performances weren't doing it for me, I'd be absolutely sold on the music and the director and the costume designer because I feel like they're just a match made in heaven. For those of you who don't know, Colleen Atwood is the costume designer for a lot of Tim Burton's films, including Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, Sleepy Hollow. There's so many films that she's done, and with Tim Burton, and I feel like this magic threesome, this magic trinity of Tim Burton, Colleen Atwood, and Danny Elfman really are the signature of this entire show, and I feel like that's one of the things that is another of their secret weapons, which is bringing these three powerhouses of composer, director, and costume designer back together. And of course, with the writing of Miles Miller, and Alfred Gough, it's basically a match made in heaven. It's an interesting combination. And luckily, it manages to work for the most part. The mystery is engaging. First of all, let's get to the plot. She is settling in at Nevermore Academy. But when things start happening around campus, there is this strange creature who is committing these horrific murders. And I'm not just saying they're horrific in the sense that you see it in the aftermath, But the deaths are really gory in this show. I was actually really surprised at how gory this show was going to be, because I actually was quite surprised. There was actually a really graphic scene where a guy gets his throat cut, and there's even a scene where a guy basically is in a car accident and you see that his neck bent back with a bone protruding through. And I thought, damn, this show's really... I'm loving this dark, gritty Addams Family reboot. More of this, please. And luckily, we're probably going to get more, because season 2... I'm not sure if it's going to get commissioned, but hopefully it will sometime within next year, because I really am loving this show. It's fantastic. The cast is great. The story was engaging, and I really loved how there's lots of little clues early on that do set up who the killer could potentially be, but they're not so obvious to the point where you think, oh, that's obviously, meant to be a really big clue, or this is obviously meant to be a red herring. They do a very good job of really... These writers, Miles Miller and Alfred Gough, really do a great job of really kind of knowing when to place clues, when to establish red herrings, and how to frame them as red herrings, and all these other things without it being too obvious that they are red herrings, and how they pretty much guess the audiences, how they pretty much can guess what the audience is going to guess at, who the culprit is going to be, and all these other things. I'm going to briefly touch on, Inside Number 9. I think what Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton do in Inside Number 9 is that they've always tried to, whenever they approach writing an episode of Inside Number 9, they always say to themselves, how can we make the audience guess what do you think you're watching versus what you are actually watching? And the fact that they have to stay one step ahead or several steps ahead of the audience is something that they're constantly wrestling with when it comes to writing an episode of Inside Number 9. Whereas Miles Miller and Alfred Gough have to play the same game with Wednesday. They have to try to... When it comes to writing a mystery, you kind of have to play the same game anyway, where you have to kind of guess what the audience are going to guess when it comes to the mystery. And they do a very good job of really kind of keeping the clues very relatively fluid. And when the killer is revealed, when the culprit is revealed of who's behind these murders, who is the creature, and what's actually the main purpose, the main motivation, I actually was shocked, and it genuinely did surprise me who the killer was. And I actually found myself thinking, oh, there's actually a really interesting clue. There's several clues peppered throughout the episodes that hint that this person could do it, but it's not totally obvious when you first think about it, or you're not thinking that it could be this person. There's several things that throw you off track, and it's very well managed, and I really do have to give praise in terms of the storyline for that respect. And I am going to talk a little bit about the portrayal of some of the characters. I really missed the Addams Family in this show, because I felt like the only character that I'm going to single out as being kind of a character who kind of felt a little bit off to me in how she was written was Morticia Addams, because she kind of feels like an uptight parent than the way she's portrayed in the original 1990s series, the Angelica Houston, the fabulous Angelica Houston, playing Morticia Addams, and some of her lines are just brilliant as well. Like the way she just kind of plays it with this very kind of, this kind of almost away with the fairies type feel to her, but then she also has this very intelligent, this very sharp tongue to her as well, and this very macabre sensibility. It's just so brilliantly done. But I feel like Catherine Zeta-Jones does well in terms of the look and trying to capture that mannerism of what Angelica Houston did and all the other actresses who played Morticia Addams very well. But I just didn't really believe her as this very uptight parent. I felt like she was kind of not written very true to the characters as I thought she would be. And I thought that's actually very strange, because there are a lot of moments where she could have gone very Morticia Addams, and she could have, said, it's like, oh, this could be, a stain on your record. What would your ancestors think? What would your Uncle Fester think if, he said, oh, you didn't kill this person right, or you didn't do the job properly, kind of thing. And I wish there was more of that kind of back and forth where she would deliver the deadpan punchline, like, oh yeah, imagine what your Uncle Fester would think if you didn't do this job properly. And things like that, and I wish there was more of that kind of humour in there. I just missed that a little bit, and I feel like that was something that was really lacking on Morticia's part. But I feel like their roles in the storyline, the actual central mystery, actually fit very well with how they are as characters. Like, Gomez Addams is one of those people who love them or hate them, Morticia. A lot of people love Morticia and Gomez. Obviously, like they're the first ever odd couple that I think we've ever seen. That they are very odd in the sense that they just absolutely they feel very mismatched, but you can tell they very much adore each other, and they really do kind of relish in the fact that they're romantically in love, and they love the gothicness and the darkness. But the way these characters were incorporated into the plot actually really made sense. Like, oh, these characters could do this, and this could actually be something that they would do, or they'd be motivated to do, or pushed to do in a given sense of desperation or something like that. And that was actually very well done. I felt like, Morticia Addams could have been written more akin to her character in the original 1990s films and other incarnations, but for what we got, it was fine. And of course, Catherine Zeta-Jones did a great job, and the actor who played Gomez, I've forgotten his name, but he played Jacopo in the film adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo. He's in a lot of things, and I really do like him as an actor whenever he turns up in things. He did a good job playing Gomez, and the actor who plays Fester Adams is a guy who was in the American sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live. He was good as Fester. I really believed him as this guy who is a bit of a mischief maker, and of course that is true to his character in the original 1990s series, and of course other incarnations of Fester have often been depicted as a bit of a mischief maker, a little bit of a rogue stallion kind of thing. So the fact that he's kind of going around the small town of Jericho, which is where Nevermore Academy is set around, to kind of just cause mischief and do all sorts of other things, that felt very true to his character. So there are little traces of truth, but it felt kind of weird with the Morticia Addams angle. I felt like they could have done a little bit more of the dark humor and a little bit more of the I wish she could just eat you all up, and then she just goes, "Oh no, you're too young, dear." Things like that. I wish there was more of that to a character. Hopefully in season 2 we'll get more of that sort of sense of humour and that sensibility. But for now, that's probably my only real criticism of the actual show, is that the one performance wasn't really written as well as it could have been. But yeah, everything else is fantastic. When Thing is introduced, he is actually really a fun character, and I love what they did with Thing, how he just basically communicates with finger gestures and pointing and tapping and Morse code and things like that. Like, just the fact that they were able to give such personality to a attachment, a piece of a body part, the fact that they were able to give such personality to this character. And this isn't just unique to Wednesday. This has always been a case with every single incarnation of the Addams family. They've always managed to give Thing such a personality, and they've always been managed to give this character so much range, even though you don't see his face and you don't see the expressions that he gives, or you don't see anything that really indicates what human beings should actually have. And that's a huge thing to pull off from a writing standpoint. So anyone who's ever worked on the Addams Family just gets what Thing is and understands that you can do the impossible, but then you could so very easily get it wrong with a character like Thing. But they managed to do a very good job of reconveying his personality to all these characters who are teenagers, who are just texting and going on Instagram and posting photos and things like that. But it doesn't feel like it's just giving birth to this new, Gen Z, millennial type film. It's actually, really timeless. It manages to feel very Tim Burton in many ways. Like the production design, the way Evermore Academy looks, it looks very gothic, very kind of, very kind of Edgar Allan Poe inspired, hence why it's called Nevermore Academy, which is a reference to the poem The Raven. And there's even a special game or a special tournament that the pupils partake in called the Edgar Allan Poe Cup, and things like that. So there's a lot of references to Edgar Allan Poe, and there's so many great things to it. There's the teams are called things like the Black Cats and the Pits and the Pendulums and things like that, and there's so many great references to Edgar Allan Poe, but also the show's just really good. The other performances, like Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne of Tarth, she does a very good job as Principal WHIMs, who, when she was in her youth, she basically was a pupil at Nevermore Academy, and she was a roommate of Morticia Addams. and she kind of felt like she was in Morticia Adams' shadow. Like Morticia Adams is the popular girl who gets all the dates and all the invitations to the dance, whereas, you know, Principal WHIMs is this character who kind of feels like the Barbara from Stranger Things, the girl who doesn't get all the attention and doesn't get as much, you know, respect or as much, you know, recognition as she deserves, kind of thing. And she got her own back. She managed to become the principal of the whole damn school, so that's a plus. But yes, this entire show was fantastic. It was very well done. I like how Wednesday Addams is essentially in a CW teen drama, but she's not interested in all the things that make, you know, teen dramas like that work. She's interested in solving this case of a monster attacking the Nevermore students. She's interested in what motivates this creature to kill, what you know is the you know motivation behind this creature's actions. What is it doing? Is it a wild animal? Is it a animagus or an animagi, or is it, you know, someone who, you know, is born like this and basically only chooses to transform during certain periods? Who is this thing? What is this thing? And that's what she's interested in. She's interested in the murder. When she has these love interests, she begins to, you know, not really care for them. She even suspects one of them as being this creature at one point. Like, she isn't interested in the romance, guys. Like, if you're looking for a relationship with Wednesday Addams, you're not going to get it. Like, and that's what I found really funny. I found that really funny. A lot of people might not think it's that great or it feels very forced, but part of me just found it hilarious. And people often complain that it's too dark or it's too gory or it's too cartoony and it's trying to find this marriage between the two. But I think it works. And again, having Tim Burton is one of the positives of having this show work, because he manages to blend the cartoony with the very gothic and the very dark very well. And if you didn't have him attached, I don't think this nearly would have been as successful in terms of execution. So to me, I think that was actually very well done. So again, Miles Miller and Alfred Gough did an absolutely wonderful job in just choosing these great people to rehelm their project so that they could give the writing that they wanted to explore some depth. And there's so many great sequences in this. There's a scene where she plays Paint It Black on the cello. I think it's a Rolling Stones number. Yeah, that's a good song. The fact that she did her own cello version of it, like a cello montage out on the balcony, that was brilliant. I absolutely love that scene. And of course, everyone's literally looking out their windows at her and, you know, seeing her perform this thing on the cello. That was an awesome scene. And things, you know, turning the pages of the music manual. I thought that was actually a good scene. It was a very great montage. And I like how when she meets her roommate, Edna, her character basically is, she's a wolf, but she can't fully transform. I like how she has a very colourful room, and Wednesday's allergic to colour, so she likes everything black, including the furniture and everything like that, and even her bed. So she basically takes off all the colour from the window, the spiderweb mural, and basically has one side of the room black and one side of the room full of colour. I like that because it really shows their conflicting personalities, and they don't like each other at first, but the friendship in this show was actually very wholesome, and I was actually really there for it. So I love scenes like that, and it really adds a lot of depth to both characters. And this entire show was just great. I loved the back and forths. There's a great scene where one of her love interests goes, "You're really into this killer malarkey, aren't you? Or you're really into this killer stuff, aren't you?" And she just looks at him in a very deadpan stare, and she goes, "Would you rather I had an interest in pink fluffy horses and boy bands?" And I thought, yeah, Wednesday knows what she's doing. She knows who she's poking fun at in that particular, frame of mind. Like I said, if you're dating Wednesday Addams, don't expect a normal relationship, or don't expect a quid pro quo type relationship where you get as much as you give back. And I think you get as much as you give back. It's pretty much, if you're interested, chances are she's not going to be interested. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I absolutely think is fantastic. And there's a scene where she does a really weird dance at this, special dance, like prom thing that they're holding at the academy. And she does this very weird dance to, rock and roll music. I thought that was a good scene. And I just think this show is absolutely fabulous, and it's just such a great show. I would highly recommend this show if you haven't seen it already. It's Wednesday on Netflix, and I literally want to, say that give this show a go. It's absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic. I love the performances. I love the production design. The story was well written, and it really kept me engaged and really kept me guessing who the killer was going to be. There was a lot of very quotable moments, and it's a great show, and I really do think this show deserves a second season. So Netflix, if you are planning on, greenlighting this show for a second season, please do so soon and let us know, because I would love to see more of this show and more of this universe. So that's been my review for Wednesday on Netflix, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I'm going to detract a point is because I felt like the character of Morticia wasn't well written up, but then again, who cares? I'm going to give it 5 stars anyway. This was a 5-star review because I just think it's a great show. It's well worth the time you spend on it. I literally, took a break halfway through the series. I got up to 4 episodes and I just binged watched the rest in a single day. But yeah, I really do think this show's a great show, and I think a lot of people should check it out. And I hope there's going to be season 2 on the way. So yeah, that's my review for Wednesday, and this has been Josh with Whimsical and Interesting Musings. Have a great day, and take care. Bye-bye for now.